Take out your notebook so we can solve two problems. Make sure you've taken out your notebook so you can solve two problems. Today we're still sticking with Take out your notebook so you can solve two problems. Today we're going to be learning about ratio and how to combine three quantities. There are 12 triangles, 6 squares, and 4 circles here. I'd like to show the ratio of triangles to squares to circles. If we were to count these all up, we'd see that we have 12 triangles, 6 squares, and 4 circles. And if I were to write this as a ratio, triangles to squares to circles, the ratio would be 12 to 6 to 4. So you can see that it's very similar to comparing two quantities and showing it as a ratio. Now we're just adding in another quantity. But again, we need to make sure that they're in the correct order. So if it says triangles to squares to circles, I have to make sure that I list my quantities in that order. Now, if I look closely here, I can see that each group can be put into groups of 2 or can be divided into 2. My triangles can be divided into groups of 2, so can my squares, and my circles can. So I now have 6 groups of triangles, 3 groups of squares, and 2 groups of circles. So we can simplify this by dividing all 3 quantities by 2. It's a common factor, so we want to divide by the common factor. So we will simplify, and when we simplify, the ratio is 6 to 3 to 2. And that's our final answer, so we can box that one. Okay, now that we've seen how to simplify with 3 quantities, we're going to give a couple a try ourselves. So copy the following problems into your math notebook. We're going to write each ratio in its simplest form. So copy down number 1, 14 to 8 to 6. And we're going to want to say 14 to 8 to 6 is equal to what when we simplify? So we're going to want to take a look at each of those quantities and ask ourselves, what can each of those quantities be divided by? Can they all be divided by the same number? So we're looking for a common factor. So take a moment and solve this in your math notebooks. Pause the video if you need some extra time, and press play when you're ready for the answer. Did you have time to find a common factor and divide? Well, if you looked closely, you would have seen that each one of these quantities can be divided by 2. So if we divide 14 by 2, we'd get 7. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So if we simplify it, we would get 7 to 4 to 3. If you didn't get that answer, look over your work and see where you maybe made an error. We can box that answer because that is 14 to 8 to 6 in simplest form. Now let's go ahead and try one more. Write down 20 to 10 to 15. And again, we're going to want to ask ourselves, 20 to 10 to 15 is equal to or the same as what to what to what? So we're going to look for another common factor. And we want to find the greatest common factor so that we can divide and get our ratio in simplest form. So pause the video and give it a try. When you're ready for the answer, click play. Did you have time to solve it on your own? Okay, so let's go over how we would simplify 20 to 10 to 15. I know that 20, 10, and 15 can all be divided by 5. So I'm going to divide each quantity by 5. And when I simplify this ratio, I will get 4 to 2 to 3. Because I've divided each quantity by 5. And I can box that because now that is my ratio in simplest form. You can see it's very similar to what we've already been working with. Okay, let's take a look at a bar model problem together, and you'll see how similar this is to the other ratio problems we were already solving with two quantities. This problem says 20 liters of water are poured into 3 buckets, A, B, and C, in the ratio 2 to 3 to 5. Find the volume in bucket C. So I know that bucket A is listed first. So if bucket A is listed first, then that means that 2 is going to be the number of units that I'm going to use for A. B is listed second, so that means that there's 3 units for B. And C is listed third, so that means there's going to be 5 units for C. So just like we were solving the problems with 2 units, we're going to label on the side our buckets, A, B, and C. And again, we know that ratio problems are always set up as comparison. So A, we have 2 units. B, we have 3 units. And remember, they have to be the same size. We need each unit to be the same. And C, we have we have 5 units. And I'm going to want them to match up and be the same size as the other units as well. Now, I'm told that 20 liters are poured into 3 buckets. So that means I'm going to want to add a bracket and label all 3 20 liters. And I want to find the volume of liter C. So I'm going to write a question mark there. Now, do I have enough information to find what 1 unit equals? I do, because I know my total number of units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I know the total quantity in those units. So 1 unit equals 20 divided by 10, which equals 2 liters. Now that's just what's in each box. So if I know that each unit is 2 liters, I'm then able to figure out what the quantity of bucket C is. Bucket C is going to be 2 times 5 because I have 5 units. So C equals 2 times 5, which equals 10 liters. And since it's a bar model, I should have written my sentence first, right? So the volume of bucket C is 10 liters. So do you see how we solved that exactly the same as our 2 quantity ratio word problems? Except now they're just adding in an extra quantity. So go ahead and give 2 problems a try in your workbook. You're going to do workbook pages, just page 137. 137. And you will see that there are 2 problems on page 137. The bar models are already drawn out for you. It's your job to solve and make sure that you have a sentence in there. Okay, so you're going to be solving for those 2 problems. Go ahead and give it a try.